Good evening, everyone. I'm standing here looking out at all of you, and I can feel the energy in this room. It's electric, it's hopeful, it's powerful. Yet I also sense that behind the bright eyes, the determined smiles, and the strong handshakes, some of us are carrying hidden burdens. We wear these burdens day after day, carrying them around like a backpack full of bricks, hoping nobody notices. Tonight, I want to talk to you about those burdens. More importantly, I want to talk to you about a powerful, unshakable source of strength that will change everything you thought you knew about joy. Do you ever feel like you're pushing through life with the weight of the world on your shoulders? Maybe you're juggling school, a new job, or a side hustle, and no matter how hard you try, you just can't seem to make progress. Or perhaps you're a parent trying to keep the family afloat, pouring yourself into every need of your loved ones, and in the process, losing yourself. Some of us might be leading teams in business, communities, or churches, always expected to have the right answers, to be the pillar of stability. Yet inside, we're asking, where am I supposed to draw the strength to lead others when I can barely keep myself standing? I've been there. I've felt that weight. I know that feeling of wanting to quit, wanting to hide, or just wanting anyone to recognize that you're struggling. But here's the beautiful truth. You're not alone, and you never have to be. Each of us longs for a source of power that doesn't run dry when the challenges mount. We want a strength that's bigger than our fears, bigger than our insecurities, and bigger than the harsh realities we confront every day. The good news is that this source of boundless strength is already available to you and me. It's God's strength waiting for you to lean on it wholeheartedly. There is a joy, a deeper joy, that comes when you stop trying to carry everything on your own shoulders and start depending on God's mighty arms. This is not about ignoring your responsibilities, nor is it about being passive. It's about placing your faith in an infinite reservoir of power that transcends human limitations. You see, relying on God's strength isn't a sign of weakness. It's the ultimate sign of wisdom and humility. It says, I can't do this by myself, and I don't have to. God's got me. When we live in that truth, when we open our hearts to that mighty presence, we discover a joy that the world can't steal and circumstances can't shake. So tonight, let's dive into what it really means to discover greater joy by depending solely on God's strength. Let's explore how we can break the cycle of exhaustion, how we can reclaim our sense of purpose, and how we can find a steadfast, unbreakable joy amid life's toughest storms. Let me ask you something. Are you ready to let go of the bricks you've been carrying? Are you ready to exchange your tired arms for God's everlasting embrace? I believe from the bottom of my heart that you are. And I believe that once we look back, once we see what happens when we step into that divine power, we will never be the same again. Let's walk this path together. I've learned through my own failures and triumphs that nothing compares to the peace you feel when you know, without a doubt, that God is your anchor. That is what this moment is all about, a chance for you to shift your perspective, to realize you are not the sum total of your mistakes or your missed opportunities. Instead, you are a child of God designed for a grander purpose than mere survival. Right now, you might be facing a financial crisis, a health scare, or heartbreak. Maybe you're consumed by anxiety over your future. But tonight, I want to invite you to lay all that down at the feet of a loving God, because when you let go of your illusion of control, you become free to embrace a force far stronger than any obstacle. Nobody said the journey would be easy. Faith doesn't promise a life free of trials, but it does promise that we won't walk through those trials alone. When you depend on God's strength, you're not ignoring the hurdles. You're simply choosing not to face them in your own limited capacity. It's as though you've been trying to sail across a stormy sea in a fragile raft, but all along there's a sturdy ship right beside you with a capable captain who's ready to guide you to safe harbor if you just step aboard. Isn't it time to let go of that wobbly raft and trust the ship that's built to withstand every wave? That's the challenge I place before you. That's the invitation. And as we move forward, let's look at how faith in God's power transforms every aspect of our lives. Let's see how it changes the way we work, the way we love, the way we dream. Let's see how it injects fresh hope into our relationships, our careers, and our visions for the future. Stay with me, stay open, and let's discover together the greater joy that can only arise when we choose wholeheartedly to lean on God's strength. So let me be clear about one pivotal truth. Relying on God's strength is not a passive act of resignation. It's a powerful stance of faith. It's like declaring in the midst of every struggle, my God is bigger. My God is stronger. I want you to imagine a young college student standing in a crowded hallway, burdened by looming exams, financial worries, and the fear of failing to measure up. He's pushing himself to the brink, studying until dawn, missing meals, isolating himself from friends, all because he believes he must do it alone. Now, if he never realizes there's a greater power to lean on, he risks burning out, dropping out, and losing the joy that once drove him to learn. But what if, in a moment of quiet desperation, he surrenders his stress to God? What if he prays, Lord, I am overwhelmed, but I trust you. Guide me through this. Suddenly, he experiences a calm he can't quite explain. He makes clearer choices. He finds unexpected support from classmates, mentors, and even financial resources. That's not luck. That's what happens when you tap into the infinite instead of being limited by your own finite means. The same holds true for families. Maybe you're a single mother wrestling with exhaustion and doubt. You're working 2 jobs, holding it together for your kids, trying to keep food on the table and a roof overhead. It's easy to feel alone in that daily grind. But when you decide to lean on God, you open your eyes to new pathways for relief, whether that's a local church that helps with childcare, an after-school program that offers tutoring, or simply the emotional strength you need to keep going. God's strength can manifest through community, unexpected blessings, or a sudden burst of courage you didn't know you had. Without that dependence, you risk drowning in discouragement. You risk losing sight of the joy found in the precious moments with your children. But with God's strength, you stay afloat. And more than that, you learn to soar above the storm. In the workplace or community, the same principle applies. Picture a community leader trying to juggle budgets, team morale, and public expectations. Every day becomes a swirl of deadlines, decisions, and difficult conversations. Without a deeper source of strength, burnout is imminent. Anxiety sets in, innovation stops. Trust between team members erodes, and the mission you set out to accomplish gets lost in the chaos. But when you pause to say, God, I can't do this alone, you shift the weight off your shoulders and place it onto a foundation that never cracks. That surrender is not giving up. It's leveling up. You begin to see problems from a vantage point of possibility rather than defeat. You foster collaboration and inspire confidence. People sense a new energy in your leadership. They see resilience instead of panic, hope instead of despair, progress instead of stagnation. Now, let's talk about the consequences if we ignore this invitation. Trying to power through life in our own strength breeds pride, isolation, and disillusionment. We become so self-centered that we're unable to connect meaningfully with others. Our relationships suffer, our dreams grow stale, and our hearts grow weary. We start believing we have to be our own heroes, and that loneliness can crush even the strongest spirit. But when we recognize that God's strength is always available, we unlock a new dimension of living. We walk with a steady confidence that doesn't crumble when we face defeat or rejection. We remain humble because we know it's not about us. And ironically, that humility is what elevates us. shaping us into better leaders, better parents, better friends, better human beings. So how do we make this shift? First, acknowledge that you can't do it alone. Take a deep breath, surrender your burdens in prayer, and actively seek God in every decision. Second, remain open to how God might answer. Answers can arrive through Scripture, a wise mentor, a caring friend, or even a timely opportunity. Third, embrace community. Surround yourself with people who are also walking by faith, because we draw strength from collective encouragement. Finally, commit to gratitude. Each day, find something to thank God for, because gratitude keeps your heart aligned with the source of your strength. When you consistently do these things, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. You're operating in a realm of joy that no hardship can destroy, because your foundation isn't made of sand, it's built upon the rock. Everything we've explored tonight points to one central conviction. True, lasting joy isn't found in our own capabilities, it's found in God's boundless strength. Perhaps you've recognized yourself in the stories of the overwhelmed student, the struggling single mother, or the stressed out community leader. Maybe your challenges look different but carry the same weight of exhaustion and fear. Whatever your situation, I want you to hold on to one profound assurance. You were never meant to do it all by yourself. There is a divine power far greater than your personal limits, and that power is yearning to lift you up. Sometimes people shy away from inviting God into their daily grind because they assume faith is only for Sunday mornings or religious ceremonies. But God's power permeates every moment of your life if you let it. When you invite Him into your studies, your parenting, your relationships, your business dealings, and even your innermost struggles, something remarkable happens. You discover peace where there used to be turmoil. You find guidance where there used to be confusion, and you feel an unshakable joy where there used to be fleeting happiness. This joy doesn't vanish when trouble comes knocking. Instead, it remains steadfast because it is anchored in a power that transcends circumstances. Yet, let's be real. Depending on God doesn't mean you'll suddenly breeze through life with zero setbacks. Storms will still come. Disappointments will still cut deep. But the difference lies in who is piloting your ship. When you're at the helm alone, every wave feels like a threat. Every gust of wind a potential disaster. But when you allow God to take the wheel, you realize that storms can be navigated, that the darkest nights eventually give way to dawn, and that every storm is an opportunity to deepen your trust. You begin to see how each trial refines you, making you stronger in character and richer in compassion. In other words, what once seemed like a dead end morphs into a pivotal chapter of growth. Now, maybe you're asking, how do I put this into practice starting tomorrow morning? The answer is simpler than you might think. Start by making room for God in your routine. When you wake up, don't immediately check your phone or worry about your to-do list. Instead, take a moment to breathe and say, God, today I choose to depend on your strength. Lead me. That small act of surrender can set the tone for your entire day. Throughout your tasks, remind yourself that God is present. When confusion arises, pause and pray. When fear creeps in, speak out loud. If you must, Lord, I trust you. These habits may seem ordinary, but they're the building blocks of an extraordinary life. One that is constantly plugged into divine power. Another key is to surround yourself with people who remind you of God's promises. Community is one of God's greatest gifts to us. Find a faith-based group, a church, or even just a close friend who shares your commitment to leaning on God. Discuss Scripture, share your struggles, and pray together. You'll be amazed at how burdens lighten when they're shared and how joy multiplies when it's celebrated collectively. Isolation is a breeding ground for doubt and despair. Fellowship, on the other hand, amplifies hope and strengthens conviction. If you've ever attended a vibrant worship service or a heartfelt prayer meeting, you know what I'm talking about. There's an energy there that can't be fully explained, It's a taste of heaven on earth, fueled by God's Spirit and nurtured by unity. Let's not forget the role of gratitude. We touched on it briefly, but let's expand. Gratitude has the power to shift your perspective from what's lacking to what's abundant. Every day, list at least 3 things you're grateful for. Don't just think about them. Speak them out or write them down. Say, God, I thank you for my health today. I thank you for my family. I thank you for providing for my needs. This practice might feel repetitive at first, but it slowly rewires your mindset. Instead of waking up anxious about the day's challenges, you awaken eager to see how God will move in your life yet again. This posture of thankfulness keeps your heart tender and your spirit open to God's leading. Now, there will be moments when life hits you hard. A project might fail, a relationship might end, an unforeseen expense might drain your savings. In those moments, it's natural to feel doubt. You might think, if God is so strong, why is this happening? Let's be honest. None of us have all the answers. But I do know this. God's strength isn't always about sparing us from adversity. Often, it's about empowering us to face it head on and emerge better, wiser, and more compassionate. If you never faced a challenge, would you truly appreciate victory? Would you grow in empathy for those who struggle? Would you ever discover the depth of your faith? Hardships aren't divine punishments. They can be catalysts for transformation. Consider this. Every time a door closes, another might open, but you have to be ready to see it. And you see it by trusting that God has something greater in store. Some of you might have lost a job only to find a more fulfilling position a few months later. Some of you might have ended a toxic relationship and discovered healthier friendships, or even the true love you've been searching for. In hindsight, many of us can point to painful episodes that led us to better places. That's the power of God's redemptive strength. He can turn your setbacks into setups for something beyond your imagination. But you have to keep walking, keep believing, and keep leaning on Him. When you put all these pieces together, daily surrender, prayer, community, gratitude, endurance through trials, you begin to live in a realm of joy that the world cannot take away. This joy fuels your passion, it shapes your vision, and it lights a fire in your spirit that refuses to be extinguished by life's storms. That's why I'm pleading with you tonight. Don't leave here thinking this message was just another motivational speech. Take it as an invitation to shift your entire approach to living. Dare to rely on God. Dare to see what happens when your life is anchored not in your own capacity, but in an everlasting well of power and grace. Before we part, I wanted to leave you with a final challenge. Look at the areas of your life where you've been trying to shoulder the load alone. It could be your career, your finances, your relationships, or even your health. Ask yourself, have I truly given this over to God, or am I still carrying it in my own strength? If the answer reveals that you're carrying too much, it's time to lay it down. Release it into God's hands. Trust that He not only wants the best for you, but also knows how to get you there. And once you start living with that kind of faith, your perspective shifts. Instead of obstacles, you see opportunities. Instead of roadblocks, you see redirection. Instead of fear, you find courage. And instead of fleeting happiness, you discover a joy that endures through every season. That joy is your inheritance. That joy is what you were created to experience. It is not reserved for the super spiritual or the lucky few. It is for you, right here, right now, in this very moment. All you need to do is let go of the illusion that you must be your own savior and accept that God already is. So step forward, stand tall, and move boldly. Go out into the world tomorrow with a renewed mind and an unshakable conviction that you are powered by something far greater than yourself. And when people ask you how you manage to smile in the midst of the storm, how you keep pushing forward when others would give up, you can say with confidence, I lean on God. His strength is my strength, and in Him I have found a joy that never fades. Thank you, and God bless you.